Okay, let's let's do this before I have to go to the hospital. As an ear infection, getting much worse and bleeding. Yikes. That's a yikes from me, dog. Gonna lie. Okay, I had the headphones put wrong, so I believe that carried. Final stream for a while. Oh god, it's a bit loud. I don't need to bleed anymore in my ears. Let us try finish this. Let me put one run publicly on YouTube. Fuck me. Can you not? Jesus Christ. I need to do a 360 so people can make a 3D model of me. I do, however, want people to take all my Google Keep notes, emails, texts, and throw them in a large language model. That would be nice. So I can harass people well after I'm gone. Not that that's gonna happen here, but good to be ready. And I'm not good at exporting Google Keep. I'm not good at Python. I mean, I also gotta be careful of mindset because don't look at me like that. There's a whole thing with Mindfulness by Ellen Linger where she's like, a ward of a hospital is like considered the death ward, and people like get moved out of it because they get full, suddenly do better, and then they get moved into it and they pass quickly, like as an expectation thing. It actually manifests basically in our bodies. So the whole book is about like these insane things that actually manifest because we think about them. So like being in the death ward in a hospital, being taken out to make you better. They had one study where they took people who were like cleaning staff at a hotel, and they told them, like half of them, they gave them all a pamphlet about health, exercise. They told half of them that their existing work counted as exercise, and the other half just got the normal pamphlet. And like after a month or a couple months, they had like lost 15 pounds on average. Just like don't no more exercise, doing nothing different, just by considering the fact that their work was already exercise. They lost a significant amount of weight. But that is a high hulse. That was Ellen Linger's Mindfulness 25th Anniversary Edition. Incredible book. Very, very chill for a bunch of casual studies. Very like quick read just because they're all super interesting like that. Basically saying that mindlessness is when you rely on categories. Thank you, Shaman. I find mindlessness is relying on categories, whereas mindfulness is basically creating new categories. Mindfulness is like being open-minded. Mindlessness is being rigid thinking. I think this is all good. I kind of want to throw this in, but I feel like these are all decent for high hauls. Maybe this. This should technically give me one of these pretty quickly. Probably should do faster healing instead of this. I will be changing it very quickly. Please don't go chakra. Okay, so we got up for dash, down for crystal. Probably should put on steady body instead of the. Oh my god, really? No, you're gonna have to show up. I know you're gonna show up chakra. What other cool things have I read? No Shortcuts by Jane McAlvey. He's a labor expert professor who teaches at Harvard. Oh my god. How about we not do this today, huh? Probably change the title to High Halls. Just because the music is so good, people might join. Shaman Crest is. Okay, Chris. Really? What's going on? The Wi-Fi's on. Deactivate, refresh device list. Great. What's going on with you? Oh, restart. There we go. That should be it. Now we'll readjust. I'm actually not even sure if I'm live. My YouTube says. God, the music is so good. But my OBS says I am not. Am I gonna show my hand? Yeah, it should pop up here soon. Yes, I'm not. We're good. God damn, that's one hell of a lag. Why is that showing for Twitch though? Don't make me give my authentication code again. Good lord. I guess on YouTube is enough. whatever. I will be taking one of these. Okay. Where was I at? Jan McAlvey? Other books I've read? No Shortcuts, A Collective Bargain, Rules to Win By. I have not yet read. My girl. Oh my god. Come on, we're gonna kill them all together. Me and you, baby. I should say my, Oh my god, they got me. Chakra. There's a big boy. I should actually style on them because I feel bad now. Okay. Come on. I don't even know where people are anymore. It's me and no girl. It's me and old girl. Come on, you get that one, I got this one. We love it. That's my girl. That's my fucking goat. I need to save the save file so I can do that 100 times more. Goddamn. Okay, old man. Let me actually go save my save file real quick before it updates. This is user 1. Control C, downloads. Extra saves, new folder. Chakra equals Shaman. Really wish I could learn what save states mean. How they work. Who they work for. What their real agenda is. Okay, man. We get it. We get it. Life is pain. You're not the only one to think that. But Jane McAlvey, No Shortcuts, labor professor at Harvard, the whole thing's like the labor movement kind of atrophied and failed because of an ethos that centers professional organizers instead of the workers themselves. And that it's not really organizing. She distinguishes between organizing, mobilizing, and advocacy. And that mobilizing is amassing individual actions, so like turning people out to a rally or liking Facebook status or just a lot of individual actions, whereas organizing is bringing people together. They're building relationships based off of shared struggle, and those people are all collectively, like they're all joining decision making. and withdrawing participation from whatever system is abusing them altogether strategically at the best moment so that you shut the system down. So it's a strike, um, which forces the decision maker to negotiate because otherwise they lose even more profits because you can't really like fire everyone most of the time. You can't suspend every student. You can't evict every tenant. They all decide to stop paying rent until you give them a better deal, and negotiation just becomes the smarter alternative, the most rational choice. And that's what makes strikes and labor organizing and collective bargaining more powerful than standard protests, especially when protests don't, when they're symbolic, like when they're not at the doorstep of the decision maker that is screwing you over. So then it's kind of like calling on whatever national, whoever, you don't have to see the coverage. It's not issue, and the troublemaking isn't brought to them directly. Zaza's writer. Thanks, now we do lace. And it's Shane McKelvey's thing. She's the goat. She's passed away, sadly. Marshall Gans is organizing people power change. Harvard course. He does more like kind of issue-based, which he does realize at this point that issue-based organizing is a problem because we focus, basically bring together activists across the city that already agree rather than like a neighborhood coming together to protest whatever. It's like less organic of a shared issue. It's people that already care, often students, retired folks, older people, people with money, higher education. I don't know why I'm saving down here. If I die, I'm dead. Here's a great article from 2018 called Social Enterprise is Not Social Change. And basically it points out that like privatization, of course, is an issue, like privatizing social services and adding profit to something that should be guaranteed, like reduces the quality, but also that that happens in a nonprofit context, so that nonprofits taking over, let's say, homeless shelters, that solving that issue should be a government problem, is that it brings people to their government, it involves civic engagement, whereas if you have a nonprofit solving it, the people they're accountable to, where a government or elected body should be accountable to the voters and like citizens and constituents. A nonprofit is more like accountable and like has to win the support of like foundations and grant money and donors. And they have to get the political support so that they're able to handle whatever issue. And they're supposed to build like an ideological base, but they don't sort of like serve people kind of like even a company does, because people can just choose another product if they're being screwed over. So all the things about how corporations and companies have like more efficient whatever and lower cost, that doesn't apply to them because they just aren't addressed. They're not controlled by market forces. So they have this like secret grifting, basically, third way or additional different way of staying empowered, getting money that frames everything as like a technical problem rather than a political problem. And all of our issues really are like who has power, who makes decisions. They're not like, did we find the right solution for this? Like, no, assholes are concentrating wealth to an extreme degree and power. It's not that we don't have the solutions, we do have them all. One of the most hilarious examples was I have this in a stream that will eventually publish by itself, about like how charity might not be good, called the play pumps in Africa, like this pump well system. I think, I'm not sure if it was by the World Bank, whatever, international funding. And the idea was that children already play on like merry-go-rounds in the playground, so like we can take that energy and use it to dig water and pull water up in like poor African villages. What ended up happening, it had like all these good intentions, and even like Laura Bush was behind it. Um, what ended up happening is like adults had to like go on the merry-go-round, this children's playground, to get their basic water for the day, and most of them like fell into disrepair because there were very technical, different kind of approaches to wells, um, and just like a really kind of dystopian setup, and it's just hilariously bad. Um, and I remember ranting about that for 30 minutes, and then reading an article that was kind of about the same subject, and then seeing Marshall Gans, Tamara Kay, and Jason Spicer bring that up as like a central example, prominent one, kind of like um, charter schools, how they fuck up our public education system. So yeah, social enterprise, social whatever, not the solution. You got me. You got me. I learned something new. I know how to fight you with style. Oh my god, I want to learn how to do it. Come on, chase after me. There we go. Oh my god. Come on now. Come on, baby. That would have been so cool. We could have been a power couple. Come on. Get over here. Got me. Come on, baby. Come on. Gotcha. That may have been the most aesthetic fight ever. At least two for me.
Buenera.
Artistia.
Has been?
Torokkiba. Artistia. Nera nera.
Damn. Me thinking about death. Maybe play better. Amazing. Wow, my ear hurts. Really need to go to the ER. So my ride wakes up. Okay, kitty, now you join me. What else? Marshall Gans wrote that shit. Harvey Hahn wrote Prisons of the People, which was probably the first academic look at community organizing. I think they summarized it pretty early on, but it's like building flexible, independent power, where you can change strategies on a dime, you can seize opportunities. Independent as in it's not tied to like a particular political party or brand or whatever, but like built independently. And she highlights that mobilizing to like symbolic protests, which we're doing with No Kings, can still be useful as long as you use them as both recruitment opportunities and as capacity building exercises, so that you always bring in new people, give them new roles in these symbolic protests. And it's something that we don't really do as much just because of how social media has made it easier for like one person host protests that people come to. There's not a phone tree involved or that relationship building that's inherent trying to turn out people before social media. Okay, Kitty. But mobilizing can be helpful as long as you do it intentionally. And that's honestly like what we're trying to do with No Kings, so we're not very good at yet. That actually Woodard Henderson brought up in the No Kings 2 What's Next call after October. That the challenge now is to interweave people from the symbolic protests with those doing the good work. Like rapid response networks, people, pushing Congress, state, local legislatures to put people on the planet before profit. Okay, good long-term stuff. And what we need to be doing is actually recruiting at the rallies using the barnstorm method, which is essentially using the excitement of a rally to recruit people instead of a cold call or a Google form or whatever. And then you make a big ask at the beginning of a rally, and then you basically you make progressively smaller asks in terms of commitment level. And what that does is it increases the social pressure because you're gonna have people basically planted in the crowd who also are ready to say yes, and you give them a social reward of like the entire crowd clapping for them, and everyone wants that social reward. So the more you make asks that are smaller and smaller in the commitment, so that people increasingly fear having to sign up for something before their chance goes away. And a lot of people will sign up in that moment. Oh god. Come on. That was stupid. Just below Barnstorm. It was pioneered by Bernie 2016. They're like really done well. And then Beta O'Rourke also does it. There's a guy named Zach Mallets, named Texas Zach, and Rules for Revolutionaries by Becky Bond. And Zach, other Zach. Oh god, that was me. We're healing. Come on. Come on, bitch. I got all day. I mean, I do have a... Nope. Okay, goodbye. Adios, Grandma. But we need to be doing this Barnstorm recruitment method at the rallies, incorporating it into like the explicit program instead of just giving people, which is still great, space for tables and recruitment at these events, because a lot of people have just never been asked directly to help out before, and they see a post on social media but they don't go out of the way, and it gives them the boost that they really need. So if we had that sort of recruitment model at the rallies, and then also had our like basically recruiting for labor unions, who wants to organize their workplace, who wants to join a rapid response network, and a coordinated team that helps people sign up in those moments, reaffirming the importance of the work while people come to the front and sign up, and then asking again repeatedly, and then going to smaller and smaller asks with people planted in the crowd who are going to raise their hand that we know in advance to help get the ball rolling. That would be enough in itself, really, to bring the number of people out. And then my big thing is that instead of a 50 state model, what we really need is a 465 districts, which I believe is how APAC is structured by congressional districts. Because if you define your organization's like geographic boundaries that way, it inherently drives pressure and power that you get from your rallies towards the elected officials that need to be putting the pressure on the most. Because we're not going to be able to convince the White House. We can convince the local member of Congress if we have overwhelming pressure, constant visits to his office, to his events. And right now, Indivisible runs on a model that is like a free for all. Whoever wants to start their own chapter can. And the issue is that that inherently becomes more cliquey when you don't have structured decision-making democracy, which Joe Friedman goes over in Tyranny of Structurelessness, who's in the Harvard course, feminist scholar, where basically, if you want a super decentralized, more anarchist, whatever, uh, activism network, that it just inherently trends towards being like cliquey towards the existing people that are powerful, because people choose their friends. Like, there's no such thing as not having structure, because structures exist everywhere, and that's happening with Indivisible. I've seen it around the country. Um, Not to put too much shade on people, but yeah, it really is a thing that we struggle with, which is activist networks, progressive ones, especially like Bernie folks, choosing like being part of a community that is so used to having rallies that the culture that they instill is just so different from average working people that it turns them off because meetings run hours long. Whatever they value action as valuable in itself, like having a rally is a good thing in its success, even if it doesn't change anything, which is a huge disconnect between average people and people that care about politics that we need to get over. We need to be able to prove basically that all of our events have a meaningful impact on their lives, or our campaigns do, show a realistic path to winning. That's what got Fred Ross to recruit Cesar Chavez. Cesar believed so strongly that like he could see the path to victory, like it was tangible in front of him. And that's really the work of organizers, is to meet with people and build a intentional like public relationship, like political one, share your stories, see where they might overlap, where you can work together. And for newer people you're recruiting, that helps give them a chance to tell their story for the first time, which a lot of people never really get. Um, and so by saying their story, it brings it out of them. It like verbalizes it, which gives it a structure rather than just like being feeling in pain. It helps you really process and move over the emotion. And by incorporating that into our like regular like in fundamentals of organizing podcast, there was Dorian Trance who said she started organizing. They told her like 20 a week, which is a lot, like three a day. And they did that in the training too, the week-long training. They really forced us to do so many in the little time we had, which was a really good experience. But we need to be doing that in our No Kings networks, forcing people to come together. And by having a 465 district strategy, we force you basically, nobody has to do it. But if you want to take part in this new program, all the existing chapters can stay where they are. But if you want to join this new thing, like you have to work with other people, and that'll force people to come together to get over their differences, and to create an organization or network based off of each congressional district that allows people to naturally target that member of Congress, which is super fucky and the curse in my political manifesto, but super messed up in more gerrymandered districts. But uh, it's part of the struggle is like all these different counties for one congressional district, and they have this one person that is otherwise kind of hard to target because it's not like they just have this one big city or something. So we're going to try to finish all the dishes. But if we did those two things with No Kings, we recruited at our rallies using a Barnstorm model where you make a big ask and then increasingly smaller asks, but giving people the social reward of being applauded for and coming to the front, reaffirming the urgency of the work. You can pull in way more people than possible, and then if we actually had one-on-ones with them all, built the relationships rather than kind of like shoving them into whatever role, it allows us to understand each other, what motivates each other, which allows us to have better asks, because if you don't understand what moves someone, it's hard to move them. And also, it basically therapeutic, getting a chance to tell your story. It's kind of like the first time anyone ever cares about you for a lot of people, which sucks, but real. And then we built all of our, ideally not part of a nonprofit. Basically, our indivisible, the King's chapters were geographic, geographically defined by congressional districts. All of those things in themselves would be enough to actually like overturn the worst of what this admin is doing and potentially even like 25th Amendment or whatever else, like get Congress to act. Would eventually flip Congress because we put that much focus on a member. You get their name in the news enough in like a negative context, people just associate it. And then also you get people locally calling them out, people that might otherwise not be involved or posted about politics, being a part of a larger protest, more disruptive, like Martin Luther King Jr. actually advocated for, letter from Birmingham jail, forcing the public to pay attention to something, forcing tension to bring about good faith negotiations. If we did all that, we could actually win. We could start towards building the power needed for like actual long-term transformative change, which is requiring a labor movement because nothing else we do, all this stuff, even the best version of our protest is not going to be enough power to overcome actual corporate greed. Like it can stop some of the worst of the worst, but really it's not enough because it's still asking and pressuring people. They need to have the strike power to incur financial costs on the opponent. They basically shut down the economy so that profits are lost, and the people who benefit from profits, the ultra wealthy shareholders and everything, start begging the administration and other decision makers to negotiate or whatever, do whatever it takes to get the economy back moving. In my mind, that's basically like having months-long campouts in like major cities, shutting down the center business districts, like Occupy Wall Street, uh, which is hard because you need a real supply route. Is tricky. Um, what people don't understand about um, Standing Rock and Ocheti Sakoan Camp is that it was on the edge of reservation land so that people could drive up safely through the reservation and then get to the edge, just going north. And then just this little part of it was where camp was. And all of this was like pipeline land technically, but there's rivers going through it that form a natural barrier. So they could actually seize a bit of land, the protesters camp up and then defend a little bridge over here, and the rest of the pipeline company would be over here, and the rest of the reservation would be down here. With a little road 1806 coming down, which had a casino on it, Dollar Tree further down, but like a casino and a gas station within a few miles. So people could bring food, whatever, hundreds, thousands of people came, 10,000 at peak. That's how it lasted so long. I was able to launch civil disobedience, lockdown, shutting down construction regularly from the camp. So that's going to be a tough one to recreate in major cities, but if you do that long enough, it would shut down the economy such that decision makers are forced to act. And this would also include basically like a huge one in DC, but that's how you would do a democratic uh, transformative change. In other words, kind of almost like a revolution. You would change our system so much to get money out of politics, which allows so much more change. Overturning Citizens United, which is very hard. So you would also not just need the pressure and power of this, but like you would need constitutional convention called by the Congress most likely for all the states, but then you would also need it ratified by the states, which is like going to take months. Even at best, like even if everything shut down, the economy's like free falling. The worst case, they're begging Congress to do something to to relent to demands. It's still going to take months for states to ratify all this, so it's a very long term, uh, a long process at least. I'm not sure if it would actually take more than a few years, but that is the main route, like feasible but still uphill battle. Root out of our mess. I need to go make sure I've got bone bottom. I think it's probably the most important stuff I've learned in the past 10 years. Electorally, there's so much, oh my god. The Democratic Party coordinated campaigns are still so old school that they're just like structured, I guess, after state parties, but they don't recruit volunteers at the rallies themselves. Like surrogate, like Elizabeth Warren coming to town, or governors in a swing state, and nobody tells the local staff. In fact, the only people that notify local staff would be like volunteers, which is super bad. And they might, I don't know, do something, but they don't have like the person speaking that excitement, recruiting volunteers. The organizers, the field staff that go up and down the line of people, try to recruit them, often in the colds, by yourself, which means you don't have legitimacy like the person on the mic giving you a shout out to go, sign up over there. And that's a huge waste of volunteering, like capacity that we're just not tapping into. So recruiting out of the rallies, using the barnstorm model, maybe, I don't know, giving field organizers the ability to text would be great, at least text the volunteers. Not over targeting, leaning into high traffic canvassing, which you can get like a dozen to 2 or 3 dozen people to commit to vote in a few hours of high traffic canvassing, even on a small campus. And in comparison, if you're knocking doors over 3 hours, you would get like 5 to 10 people max to talk to, not even to commit to vote. So you're getting several fold more people, and you're getting the good commitments. And even if they're already strong Dems or whatever, you can get them to volunteer themselves, to recruit other people to volunteer, to recruit other people to vote. There's so many things that you can do as long as you structure the ask and do it right then and there, and have the time for the one-on-ones. Which the other big thing is putting money, like paid canvassers, not putting it into private consulting firms hired by the DNC, but actually putting paid canvassers through either the county party or the state party canvassing program, so that field organizers are then freed up to go knock doors, or are then freed up to go talk to volunteers, train, talk to people who can otherwise recruit volunteers, rather than having field staff like knock doors, because that's really like it's a waste of expertise to only be doing that, or to like have them be doing all this labor, which we could totally pay for, and we do pay for. We pay a lot of money for like $250,000 just for one firm in Wisconsin. It's like a team that was like less than a few dozen out of state coming in. Uh, and otherwise, I think the last thing would be democratizing the party, like having the workers actually have a union in every state party, which surprisingly, Florida and Ohio are so against that they would hire union busting conservative lawyers to stop their workers from unionizing. So embracing that wholeheartedly would democratize the Democratic Party. I think would save everything if we did all these together. Recruited at our, I need to go finish the quest I have here. That's going to be a hard one. It's probably this, not sure about this, but roach guts and crop bugs, so we're going to go to Raymore. So no kings could be fixed if we recruited at the rallies using the barnstorm model at peak excitement, asking people to volunteer, having people plan into the crowd to get the ball rolling, but making progressively smaller asks so that the social pressure increases because people want to be clapped, applauded, brought to the front to get their reward before time runs out. So many people have just never been asked directly or in a good moment. Then forming Window Kings networks after the congressional districts that pressure is directly applied to the member of Congress, which is the strongest person you can convince, really, on average. and having that for like Indivisible and other coalitions so that it's not as cliquey and kind of like existing friend groups. And in terms of long-term getting money out of politics, like the big change would require basically months-long occupations of downtown areas. They should be targeted towards like a very winnable but very serious high level ask. Because actually ratifying the Constitutional Convention is going to take forever. So breaking that down into stages, finding places where you have good supply lines. Oh, I did not open this. Oh, hey. You okay?
I'm sorry. I was gonna grab the heater.
Yeah, I can give it to you. I'll be back. Having those occupations, being able to launch with expedience, incurring economic costs, and being able to pull that off because we have unions that we kind of helped kickstart at the rallies themselves, forcing everyone to have one-on-ones, bringing people together because the congressional districts are formed after, or the indivisible No Kings networks are formed after congressional district boundaries, which brings together people that otherwise might not work together because it's a free-for-all currently. And then fixing our electoral campaigns by doing high-traffic canvassing in a structured way, which gets way more people, giving field staff the opportunity to text, because people aren't answering their phones or doors as much nowadays, leaning into relational organizing, using the existing networks there, more time on one-on-ones, relationship building, so that you can have people ask their friends to volunteer and have them volunteer as a friend group, and also organizers having paid canvassers rather than paid canvassers being under private consulting firms, because if they're under the organizers with the official party, you can actually have the organizers spend time training people and recruiting and like going with people when they go knock doors for the first time, because it's a terrible idea to like have someone young and you're like, here's a list, go knock the doors, here's like how you do it, and then like their social anxiety gets the best of them. You want to go with them and teach them how to do it, and then if they have a good time, you can have a one-on-one while you're training them. You can show them the ropes and get someone to be like a lifelong canvassing person. You can also tap into people's talents way more. We actually had one-on-ones, make way stronger asks rather than cookie cutter. Still using metrics and stuff, but not an over-reliance on like stuff with low contact rates. It's gonna take a while to get all these. I'll drop off this heater and talk about how I need to go to the emergency room for this ear infection that I took the wrong antibiotics for, and now seems to be very, very, very strong. BRB. Maybe I'll actually end this at the bell. The bell?